There we go. Hello and welcome to the Space Between Ideas. I'm Blaine Gates. Today we have a lot to talk about. Oh no. I wanted to actually check something in my email. Some of you might have a question about how is it that I'm sharing so much information from Tom Buchholz's book, Great Crucial Insight. You must have gotten permission. So, anyways, I sent him a message today, and the idea was that in order for you to do a business with a tool, in order to make money from an idea, you have one or two choices, basically. One is called copyright, and one is called a patent. So, because the question is, how does somebody build something and then reproduce it and sell it to people? So this is like when Tom came up with the idea of a license agreement. For example, if there's a big company, they want to buy a whole bunch of copies of your software, then if you charge them full price for every single copy, then it seems a little bit expensive. So you just have this idea where you buy a license and then you can give a bulk deal. So it's not necessarily the Nobel Prize of ideas, but it was a solution for that specific problem at that specific time. So, but the question is, how do you monetize that idea? Like, did he ever get paid for that actual idea? Like, I met the inventor of the catalytic converter. I was at his house in New York, upstate New York. It's probably autumn, like it is right now, in the Catskill Mountain Range, and we were just driving around south of Albany, down by Greenville and Hudson, these little towns on the Hudson River. And suddenly I'm just at this guy's house, and he drives like a sardine white van, and he's like showing us his violins. He just spent the rest of his life making, I don't know what he does. He invented the catalytic converter. So when he patented that idea, then it means that every time somebody makes a car with a catalytic converter, he gets paid. So what else are you going to do with your life once you just have like this, like a fire extinguisher of capital, and you're like a super introvert and you just want to hang out in the mountains with your family and have a good life? So, but then you have like this gold mine that's behind your house, just like stacked sky high in gold because of an idea that you patented. And of course, this is the same idea with Tom and his book. So he had some ideas and he believes that they have value. He put them in a copyright form and then he sells that book. So, but then the question is, so of course, there's always this issue about how people are going to be able to earn money from the ideas, and how do you turn that idea into some kind of facilitated experience? So if you look at some of these intellectuals and people that are talking quickly online and then asking for your money, and then, okay, so what did they ask for your money? So like Peter Schiff, for example. So what's his message? Buy gold. And because he's like I don't know, his culture says that as long as you have income, as long as you have savings, then why not put that savings in gold? Because if you put the savings in gold, then it will just generally track inflation, because it's like, I guess it's worth the same amount of money right now as it always has been for 5,000. It's like, okay, so it seems like it's a balance, it's a measure. It's like something like a kilometer. So it tells us that any currency that is inflating, it means that there's some other source that's inflating the money supply. And then he's like, gold, buy gold. You gotta buy gold. You gotta buy gold, 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 gold. It's like, okay, I gotta buy some gold. And then so I bought this gold, and I bought it at like 10.60 an ounce, and then it jumped up like right after that. Then I traded that for this little apartment here. So I'm just chilling out in my little tent here in Georgia. And I'm thinking about how I can turn some of these ideas into some kind of facilitated experience. Because the thing is that nowadays we have software. And so what you can do, for example, you ever heard of that guy, Jordan something? Peter? I don't know. He's that psychiatrist from Canada. And he's always like, he's so weird, He's like, I will describe based only on things that people have written on paper, all of the ideas that are similar to other ideas that are important. It's like, what? So that sounds like fun. So have fun with that. So then, anyways, he's got this one little software program where it facilitates a person to describe aspects of their life. His basic philosophy is like, well, if you have something to strive for, and if you have something that you're afraid of and you're running from, anyways, I talked about that same thing in my last video, push and a pull. But he just makes it so much more entertaining that you're willing to pay the $7 or, whatever. Then you get in his system and he's a psychiatrist. So you're supposed to tell him all of your honest and detailed thoughts about what's really normal and serious and important to you. And then he gives you like this path that you follow. I mean, just answering questions. Because the whole point is that like this is called talk therapy. You're supposed to talk out, you're supposed to speak out, you're supposed to get all the emotions out. And once all the emotions are out, then you're supposed to tell the truth about what matters and how you're going to build forward. It doesn't necessarily tell you how you're going to build forward. But at least he's like, okay, did you air your issues? And then once your issues are aired, then some of those will be taken away with, whatever captivating forces control your life. Anyways, so that's why there's a fan on the screen, right? It looks like a little computer fan. But the point is that every time somebody buys that product, he gets paid. You see? So it's like, is that a patent or is that a copyright? See, the thing is, maybe I could just go through his whole process and copy it all exactly how it is and then recreate it. But the issue is nobody's going to buy, because how are you going to market it? He already stole the long tail keywords. So the whole point is, how are you going to compete? And he has a podcast where he's got all these people that jump onto it, and then some percentage of those people are going to click, and then it goes into this user experience. So it means that like if you're going to capitalize using the internet, you have to both have some kind of web-based application, and you also have some method for getting people to the front door. So in that case, the question is, do you bribe people? So that's the whole idea of like Google ads. You're supposed to pay some money, and then everybody can see you're a sponsored link, and then the likelihood of you getting some clicks is quite high. And but the alternative is exactly the same thing. So that otherwise you're dealing with SEO, meaning you have to have a website, meaning you have to have some method for generating gravity and then attention. And at some point you're back to marketing. So, you can't just live without marketing. That's the whole point. You have to have the marketing. But what's the purpose of marketing? Just to get paid by YouTube? That's not the point. The point is just to get traffic, to get down your sales funnel. And then when you pay, you put your money in the machine, you pay your $7. And then what happens? Then you go through a user experience, and the user experience is supposed to produce something within you. If it's a psychiatrist, right? So he's saying, I got this thing, you're going to do it. And then he's like, he's stating he's done some clinical trials. So they gave him some access to some kids, and then he tested it out on the kids, and then they got some good results. And then he's like, all right, so everyone's got to do this. Look, it gives you some good results. It's ridiculous. So that brings us to this book. Okay, so we're talking about the book Create Crucial Insight. We go to the chapter on state purposes. We're in the section of potential. we understand the information to some extent, but like I can describe to you as somebody who has facilitated this experience 7 times in my life, which is 7 times more than anybody else. And it's difficult. We've already been through 15 videos and we're still only past, like, I'm still being pulled back into the section of potential saying what? Saying, okay, there's a lot of information here, but then you have to turn it into something. How do you turn that into a copyright? How do you turn that, so that means an online course, a book, a pamphlet, some kind of PDF, some asset that you can use in order to trade. The value has to be in a position where it can be added to, value added to some other product, or it can be exchanged for capital. That means it is a product. You see, it's not really about the information, but it's how you package the information. And then if people purchase that information, if they use that information, then the question is, what is the effect that it has on people? So I spent 15 episodes just talking about potential. And the question is, like, okay, what was it, 6 sentences, 5 sentences? I mean, can I even remember any of them? So the bottom one was called Other. Remember that one? Other, specify. And then, see, this is the issue, right? So why does it take you 15? Why, after talking 3 times a week for 5 weeks, so a month and 1 week, why is it after talking 3 times a week? No, twice, I changed it to twice a week. So why is it that after twice a week for 16 episodes, that's 8, that's almost 2 months. You've just been saying the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. And what is it? It's that some people generally have an instinct to want to develop potential, and that those drives, like, we're not talking about weird words like love or beauty. Like, what is that? I can't even say the words. There's no drive in those words. It's not about beauty. That's not the purpose. Maybe beauty is some kind of reaction. It's maybe what we strive for, but it's not actually what we're trying to get at. Is it really you're trying to get beauty? I don't know. That's a good point. Never really thought of it. It's taking you to another place. Beauty and love. See, the thing is that when we talked about potential. All right, so first we'll put them in other. We'll put beauty and love in other. And then we can get back to the regular course of events. So let's say, for example, one of these things that this guy brings up in his videos is this thing about butterflies. And he's like, if you just reduce the parallelism between the 2 wings by just a small fraction, nobody will mate with it. Okay, so what's beauty? You have a human looking at a butterfly thinking, wow, this is beauty. But no, none of the other butterflies will mate with it. It's like, what are we talking about? It's just so crazy to me. Beauty? What are you talking about? Love? I'll tell you a crazy story. Maybe next time. All right, so let's get back up to, we got other, and then the next one is about, you see? So it means that we have to create a facilitated experience. Now, the thing what you can do, so basically that user experience that I'm talking about right now, the one that I went through already, it was crude, it was text. It was just text box and response box and a couple of buttons. That's it. Text boxes. But I mean, he did have a couple little squeaks here and a couple of whistles. Like, he gives you some kind of screen that you could probably print off with all of your responses and the questions. I don't know. I think there was something else. You could change. I didn't really understand if you could change your answers. Would it give you like a new file It didn't seem to have any file management. I think you could edit it and then it would just change and then that's what it would be. So now, what are some other things that that looks like? That also looks like something that I've been talking about a lot lately, which is chatbots. So a chatbot, probably one of the easiest ways to understand a chatbot right now is that I'm on a website and I need to solve some problems. And generally, we have two kinds of problems. We have custom problems and we have regular problems. And nowadays, we got these chatbots, which basically were fed the decision tree of the old chatbot model. So they know the problems that a person might face, but then they have a huge extended database to help them to be more human-like. And then you have, like, I need to talk to a specific person because they have to make a decision. These are not automated decisions, they're custom decisions. So I need to talk to a human. Now, in the user experience that I was just talking about, in that one, you're reading text and then you're responding. And the cutting edge stuff, like right now, the basic idea is that either you could pre-record yourself with that same decision tree, and then it's just a video person explaining the answer rather than the chatbot. So it means limited number of responses. But now we actually have a chatbot, which is like a human looking thing. You talk to it, it talks back to you in real time, real voice, real, like with the AI answers, but it's just being mouthed by an image. So we're there, which means what? It means that this user experience of the past, I mean, you could sell vintage, but the question is how many people will adopt to the new user experience? Are you more comfortable talking to something that looks like a real person, that's closer to the psychological experience where it's a human talking to a human? Or are you confined to journal writing? And I can see the benefits of journal writing. But the question is, when competitors come in with the new technology, then are they going to steal a huge amount of the audience? So there's some questions about how to create a user interface. And this is the issue that I have with how to present Tom's work, because, and I mean, it's the same, quite frankly, it's the same issue that I have on my other channel. I have another channel where I'm teaching French. And the question is, like, how do I actually learn a language and at the same time develop tools and products and things? How do I use AI? Isn't there already an answer to all of the questions and I can just magically speak French? Bonjour. Comment vas-tu? You know? But it's like me actually pushing, creating, taking the 11 labs and pasting some text. The text I created using like my own formula for how the exercise should look, and then getting ChatGPT to produce the sentences, producing 45 sentences, and then getting a real French person to go through the 45 sentences, and we select 15 of those sentences, and then I put the text into 11 labs, I produce the audio, then I put it into iMovie, and then I add the image of the sentences, then I upload it to the channel, and then I'm listening to it. But the thing is, like, you also have to use GarageBand, because the audio, you have to cut it into, so there's enough time to hear the sentence, then repeat the sentence. So, like, AI isn't currently doing that. It's not producing like that. Like, this is a business. I'm producing content, and I'm using the content on myself, and like I'm testing it to see how do I use this with AI. So then now I got ChatGPT on one side. I got my thing. So I go through like one test of like all the sentences in French. And then I say to ChatGPT, okay, I upload these sentences, and now I want you to read one sentence. I'll read the next sentence, and then I'm just reading it with the ChatGPT. But the thing is, like, I still have to go through the motions. I have to go through the exercises. Like, I'm just trying to figure out how I can use tools to help me, so I don't have to have that same piece of like motivation. Like when I was in China, I was like, I would like go back to Socrates. Like, I wanted to breathe, you know. No, it's like I wanted Chinese. I wanted it more than I wanted to breathe. which of course led to a world of adventure. So now we're on state purposes, and we need to turn this stuff, this information, into a facilitated experience so that people can go through some type of experience with this information. And then, okay, so we can actually identify it, right? Using the book, because the whole point, what is life all about? Yo, what's up? How you doing? It's about, I'm going to identify the core drive of a business endeavor using a methodology. So basically what it means is I go to this thing called state purposes, and then I try to define the business from one of these base motivations. So in the case of the, what was it called? Future authoring program. Then the question would be, okay, so what is this software application? What is it? Ally with? Are you allying with an entity? Yes, so to some extent you're going to be allying with the user experience. The user experience is produced by JP. So you're allying with JP when you go hand in hand through the user experience which he has designed. It's, I don't know, I guess you're also allying with the activity because you're going to be reading some text, you're going to be inputting some confidential information, which Jordan Peterson will have access to 100% once you have uploaded your finest secrets and your most base desires. All right, so there's some allying with. What does it mean to ally with? It means to have some. Remember when we were a kid and you're in Alberta, the safety kids, the safety kids, the safety kids. You know the rules, because like at that time in human history, you could actually like seriously have a problem. So you need to teach the kids to be safe. All right, so that they're pairing up the children to ally with relationships, community principles at a very young age through activities, entities, community organizations, all kinds of things. So this is like base civilization. And the question is, well, okay, now that it took you 10 years to understand this one little line here is talking about the basis of civilization. Okay, so now how are you going to turn that into a software application that people can actually read about, go through, understand, get some value from, and then suddenly something about their life changes? You see, and this is why I feel like JP, he just like, he took some of that low fruit and somehow he just created a user experience. And it's like, because it's not like he's the only one that did it. It's like maybe it's good in some way that other people are not good at, or maybe he just was able to promote it better than everybody else, and so it's catching the limelight, it's catching the wind, it's catching the motivation, it's catching the purpose, it's catching the energy, it's catching the flow. It's whatever it is, it's being caught. It's zeitgeist. It's like an expression of like, especially there's so many people who are like, yeah, I'm like smart enough to understand that like I'm not going to be able to read all those other books. So it means that at some point you have to pick a representation of what you think is worthy of your attention. So then you're looking for allies in that effort. Who are the people who are talking about things that are worthy of your attention? It means who are you going to ally with? So in the past, all of that was like your community. You couldn't, your reach that wasn't further than your community. But now suddenly it's like you can reach the stars. Okay, so now that you're very well aware that you have the opportunity to communicate, then what are you gonna? So that's, I mean, and that's the difference between create and ally with. So at some point, some people, they stop allying with, and they're like, I'm gonna just create stuff. I can see something that needs to be created. Again, the same question I just asked. How do I turn this information into a user experience? How do I turn this into like a token machine? How can I just say, okay, yeah, you put 25 cents in the machine, and then you're gonna learn about something called purposes and motivations. And one of those purposes and motivations is called ally with or create entities, relationships, or activities. And then, okay, what changed? Are you a different person now? It's like, what? That's not good. So how? This is just, this is the thing I've been thinking about for years and years and years and years. Talking to why. So we're talking about base desire. How is it possible that you just keep looking at the same page for 10 years?